Meisterstahl hailing frequencies are open.
Okay, we're on.
The opinions expressed in tonight's podcast are those of the individuals speaking. They do not necessarily reflect the views of HarrisFilm Productions or its other crew members.
This is Steve Harry Harris and the HarrisFilm crew.
We have Ken Mays, our lead VFX artist, and special guest, our other VFX artist, Ian Burke.
Hello, everyone.
HarrisFilm has entered the 2024 Showrunner Awards, and we're 2 of 27 entries. I'm not sure exactly what specific awards that they put themselves in for.
Tonight we're going to watch a very short film called Green Manifesto. Ian Burke, now you've had an interesting job this week. Tell us a little bit about that.
The Pete Best Show?
Yeah, who's Pete
Yes.
Best?
Pete Best is the original drummer for the Beatles, and I got to work with him last night at Club 66 in Harford County, Maryland.
Excellent. He looks like a really nice guy.
He was incredibly nice guy, very chill, very easy to work with, and as you'd expect, like when the guy is on stage and like the people are watching, there's this certain kind of magic there, you know.
Yeah. It's
Because
a shame
he's
that
a
he
part
was
of something legendary.
Right. He was with the early Beatles when they were in Germany mostly and Liverpool in the beginning.
Last night, everybody had nothing but love for the guy.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, he did
and-
have a big following. That's cool to get to see somebody like that and actually interact with them.
Mm-hmm. If anybody's following Steve, I think Steve shared some of the photos on social media from the show last night. I was trying to post as I could while still seeing to my duties.
That's
if
true.
anybody's following you, they can see some of the images from the show.
Who would follow me? Okay. Yes, you're right. Here we go.
Damn it! Why aren't people dying?
He engineered in a safeguard.
You worked with him for years. How did you let that happen?
He thought that it might be deployed accidentally before an antivirus could be developed. So he basically diluted the entire strain to make it less lethal.
That implies there's a more powerful strain.
Yes. This is the original strain. It will do what you ordered.
Do you have it?
Yes. Enough to infect the entire world. At your command.
Bring me Dr. Burroughs.
I will send for him immediately.
You've been a loyal ally.
Man has
Colonel
kept
Green?
records diligently since the advent of the written word.
Colonel Green.
His accumulation of knowledge has grown exponentially with each passing decade. As he moved out into space, this knowledge was combined with that of many other races to create the single largest repository of information in the known universe. The repository is known as Memory Alpha. This is where you can access the Federation files.
Your virus is ineffective, Doctor.
500,000 people have already died.
5 million have recovered.
It's just on its first wave.
And will the 5 million that recovered be affected in the second round?
We don't know, they're probably immune.
Do you know why the eugenics war was lost, Doctor?
Lost? I think we won.
Matter of perspective. Let me rephrase. Do you know why Khan was defeated?
Human perseverance?
Yes, very good, Doctor. No, the answer is math.
Math?
Yes, math. No matter how advanced, how intelligent, how superior, there were far too many humans for such a small force to defeat, and they were rallied against him. In layman's terms, there were more humans than Khan had bullets.
Yes, I see what you mean.
So, Doctor, I hired you to level the playing field.
500,000 people have already died.
True. And our propaganda campaign has used the media to turn the populace violently against each other.
Yeah, sad. Sad that innocent people are dying at the hands of writing dissidents.
Not sad, you fool. Divide and conquer. We are provoking them to kill each other. And while that is happening, the rest of them should be dying of a worldwide plague.
But I need to remind you that 500,000 people have already died.
500,000 out of 7 billion is not good enough, Doctor. I need this virus to strike them while they are distracted by the civil unrest we have orchestrated. Bring me a driver to take the doctor home. Doctor, take a few days to rest, then deliver me the virus I requested.
Orders, sir?
Yes. Follow the doctor home. See to it that he takes a nice, long rest.
Understood, sir.
Do you have the inoculant for this?
Yes. Enough for all the troops.
Good. Dispense it. We unleash the virus in 60 days.
What'd you guys think? Who wants to go first?
I think it was pretty good. I do think they kind of missed on the Khan reference, because if you look at the episode Space Seed, Khan was described as being one of the lesser known of the Supermen. He was not one of the main antagonists in the eugenics wars. In fact, they specifically said he didn't attack anybody until he was attacked first.
Right. However, it could be that, you know, the nefarious people like Colonel Green would know a lot about his peers, you know. So maybe he knew something that we didn't, and they're enlightening us. I don't know. But you have a good point.
Yeah, I would think more along the lines that he would be referencing the other Supermen, the ones that rose to power in Eastern Europe, other parts of the Middle East, for instance.
I don't recall anybody mentioning those people by name, so that was a perfect opportunity to create some.
Yeah, they weren't mentioned by name, but Spock did state that they seized power in 40 nations simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
And Khan, his area was basically northern India, parts of Australia, New Zealand.
Yeah, Oceania, right.
Yeah, that part of the world. Um, so I felt it felt a little bit like name dropping.
Yes, there's a lot of that in fan films, so I understand what you're saying. A lot of us like to give a little what we'd call fan service to the TOS fans, and that's one way to do it. Another way is always mentioning Kirk and Spock and that group, which I try to avoid like the plague. I don't want to
Yeah.
mention the Enterprise. If I can get by with not mentioning the name Enterprise, I might say, that Constitution class ship was just in this area last week or something like that in our scripts, but I don't want to get that specific. But
Yeah,
other people,
and
it's fine.
two, if he'd have said, well, Igor Franjosevich, who's, people would have been going like, who?
Who?
They would
Yeah.
have had specifically referenced, he was the eugenic Superman that sees power in, say, Poland,
Okay.
as opposed, but short of getting that specific, and the thing is, that would be very difficult to do and not make it sound like an info dump.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a tough
Whereas,
choice.
yeah, people know who Khan is,
Right.
so you can just drop the name and keep going.
I think that's the point. Hi, Bill.
It just kind of keeps the story going, moving
Yeah.
along.
So what did you think, Ian?
I thought it was very, very interesting. They made very good use of the resources they had. Just the single light above the desk, the laptop. Did you guys notice the desk lamp from the Undiscovered Country?
Interesting.
From the meeting, the Starfleet, it was the same desk lamps they used in Undiscovered Country for that briefing in the beginning with Cartwright and the rest of them. So that was a cool little nod there. But yeah, very good use of, they didn't have a lot of resources, but they did very well with what they had.
Yes.
Very intriguing kind of story there and so forth that you can kind of tie into, some of our current events and so forth, with things that people believe are happening with plays of power and viruses and pandemics and such. So we saw a lot of parallels to our modern world in that. Now, how far ahead in the timeline is Colonel Green supposed to be? Is like pre-World War III?
Yes, I believe he's after Khan, if I remember correctly. And of course, in the original TOS timeline, Khan was around 1996 originally. And in the Strange New Worlds, they've upped it to Khan's a kid in 2023. So
I would ignore Strange New Worlds personally.
Right. I mean,
well, Strange New Worlds, they took that and they acknowledged that in the original, like before they started messing with things, they acknowledged that he was 1999, and they said that it was because of all the meddling that it kind of stretched the timeline, kind of.
Right. It keeps resetting to make the event happen.
Which also means good. Strange New Worlds is not the prime timeline either.
Exactly. That's another topic that we touch on quite a bit. I'm going with TOS is obviously an alternate timeline to our reality anyway, So, I mean, everything seems to have diverged around probably the time that the show was canceled, 69 or so, 1969, 1970. Our timeline started to diverge a bit because we didn't make it to Mars yet. We didn't do this, we didn't do that. We don't have the moon bases, stuff that they reference throughout the series until Enterprise was finally canceled in, 2005. So our so-called canon was pretty well wrapped up with Enterprise. And after that, everything has shifted in some type of a parallel timeline or whatever. So that's fine too. I like the fact that
we do have a Mars base in 2003 in For All Mankind.
Right, and I tend to think that we're closer to that timeline for the original TOS. So I really love that show. By the way, we're doing a podcast on For All Mankind that should be coming up soon on our YouTube channel. So be looking for that. Okay, Wolf, I loved it. I give it 2 thumbs up. It's a subject that hasn't really been explored thoroughly. Colonel Green was just mentioning a bad season 3 episode of TOS. I believe it was season 3, where they met
There
the
was
Malcosians.
one thing about his character I think they could have touched on more, because Kirk specifically said he had a reputation for striking at his enemies while in the midst of peace talks.
Right.
So they could
That
have
would have been
brought
an interesting.
something like they could have brought something like that up.
Okay.
Whenever he was at a moment of weakness and was having to negotiate, that's when he would strike out.
Right. Okay, good. Anything else? All right, everybody gives you 2 thumbs up, I believe.
Definitely. It was very cool.
And this is a perfect example of you do not have to be on a spaceship, with all the fancy bells and whistles to make a Star Trek story. Okay? This is obviously a Star Trek story if you know anything about TOS. So, hey, good on you. We like it. We hope you win something at the Showrunner Awards this year.
It was the red uniform is what tipped me off that he was Colonel Green.
It does resemble Mork from Mork, right? That's the same costume.
Yeah, well,
it was the same costume. Just
he wore a red uniform in the actual episode.
Yeah, it was the one. Mork got it after, Robin Williams from Mork and Mindy got that actual costume to wear in the pilot that they did the spinoff of on Happy Days, and they just kept using it. And he fit the costume, so they kept using it. So yeah, a little nugget for you people. If you didn't know that, look it up. Believe me or not. All right, well, that's it for tonight on the Green Manifesto review. We hope you'll join us another night when we can review another film and keep you interested in the fan films that are going on.
Good night,
Ken Mays and Ian.
Good night.
Thanks for being here. Have a good week.
What'd you think? Like, comment, subscribe, and share.
See you next time.
Hailing frequencies are closed. Transmission complete.